executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Liberia wants to entrust point logistic over alleged illegal disposal of waste mineral without authorization. And away from the home front, a day after the joyous celebration of a religious festival at Mazafini Road were held in the Summon Ethiopian town of Aritat for the 36 people killed when scaffolding inside a Christian church collapsed. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the actual voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back. Up next is the bulletin of news with Sam Andrews.
The International Monetary Fund has approved the disbursement of $26.5 million to Liberia following the completion of the second review of the country's extended credit facility arrangement. The funding, equivalent to approximately 19.3 million United States dollars, brings a total disbursement under the 40-month ECF program to 79.4 million since its inception in September 2024. The approval, according to a Ministry of Finance and Development release, was announced Wednesday, and it reflects what IMF officials described as notable progress by Liberian authorities in implementing sound economic policies and structural reforms. The release added that Liberia's economic recovery remains fragile, precariously balanced on reforms that must outpace mounting fiscal pressure, donor fatigue, and widening infrastructure deficit. The release noted that the International Monetary Fund Deputy Director, Managing Director, and Acting Chair of the BOE, Bo Lee, praised Liberia's efforts to rein in the fiscal deficit, boost foreign exchange reserve, and preserve macro stability in the wake of declining donor assistance, particularly the sudden withdrawal of large-scale United States Aid Agency for International Development USAID funding. The magistrate of Monrovia City Court, Ben Bago, has issued a writ of arrest for Pastor Arlen Roosevelt Brown, Chief Executive Officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, and several associates in connection to property of the estate of the late Hillary Totman. The arrest order was issued Thursday. It commands Captain Charles Bluyuflow, sheriff, to apprehend Brown and his associate and take them before the court at the Temple of Justice in Monrovia for allegedly trespassing into the property of the interstate of the late Hillary Totman on 6th Street Sinker. The court rate of arrest laid several criminal charges against Reverend Brown and his colleagues: criminal trespass, criminal mischief, felonious restraint, criminal conspiracy, and criminal felicitation. According to the complaint, the prosecution brought by the Republic of Liberia through the representative of the Totman Interstate, Abdul Rahman Bari, Michael Brown Morgan, and Rebecca Totman, who alleged that Pastor Brown and others forcibly entered the disputed premises located on 6th Street Sinker on September 24th and October 1 to claim property belonging to the interstate of the late Hillary Totman. In another development, tenants of the interstate of the late Hillary Totman have accused the Chief Executive Officer of Urban Marketing Incorporated, Pastor Roosevelt Brown, of ongoing harassment despite a Supreme Court ruling that stripped him of any legal rights to the property. Speaking with reporters on Thursday following an arrest warrant issued by the Moravia City Court. The tenants, identified as Myron Dauber and Kevin, described Pastor Brown's continued attempt to evict them as criminal trespass. According to them, Pastor Brown has consistently harassed legal occupants of the property located on State Street, Stinker, even after the Supreme Court February 18, 2024 ruling upheld a lower court ruling against him. The executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, Emmanuel Yakpawulo, has issued a warning to Interest Point Logistics following revelations that the company illegally disposed of waste materials without authorization, which is a violation of the national environmental laws and international protocols. The controversy centers on 17 containers imported by Entrust Point Logistics, which arrived at the Freeport of Monrovia on September 18 and were held at APM terminal over concerns about their contents. Speaking with reporters in Monrovia, EPA Executive Director Yapawolo said, in keeping with its statutory mandate, the Environmental Protection Agency launched a full environmental assessment and laboratory analysis to determine whether the materials were safe for disposal. He added that after weeks of scientific evaluation, the Environmental Protection Agency determined that while the contents were heavily decomposed and infested with worms, they did not contain hazardous substances and pose no significant risk to public health or the environment. Deputy Information Minister for Public Affairs Daniel Sando has responded to mounting public criticisms over why suspended Deputy Minister of Youth at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, J. Brian McGill, has not been arrested. Why the Ministry of Agriculture contractor Sando Kroma is currently in detention on statutory rape charges. Addressing journalists during the Ministry of Information press briefing Thursday, Deputy Minister Daniel Sando said the two cases are fundamentally different in terms of evidence and investigative procedures. Minister Sando explained that in the case of Sando Kroma, police acted immediately because the suspect was caught in the room with the alleged victim, and physical evidence was available at the time of the arrest, noting that investigation involving J. Brian McGill of the Ministry of Youth and Sports requires more time to gather sufficient evidence to establish what he termed probable cause. He further noted that the government acted responsibly by suspending J. Brian McGill to avoid any interference with the ongoing probe. Sando Kroma, aged 34, was arrested on September 24th after police allege he sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl at his apartment in Vitime. The Supreme Court of Liberia, or Justice in Chambers, James Eto Wolokoli, had lifted the stay order imposed on civil law court regarding the arrest of former Minister of Justice Frank Musa Dane and 5 others involved in a 53.34 carat diamond. In a mandate from the clerk of the Supreme Court, Councillor Sam Momolu, and addressed to Councillor Serena Cephas, legal counsel for the petitioner, the High Court announced the cancellation of a scheduled conference set for October 16. James Eto Wolokoli directed the assigned circuit judge Brema Konto to resume jurisdiction over the matter and proceed in accordance with the law. The Supreme Court's latest directive effectively removes all legal barriers that had previously halted proceedings, including the execution of arrest orders for Councillor Frank Musa Ding and others linked to the disputed 53.34 carat diamond case. The political leader of the Alternative National Congress has called on Liberian government to take the lead in tackling issues regarding the importation and abuse of dangerous drugs in Liberia. Alexander Cummings said the impact of drugs in Liberian society is alarming, and there is an urgent need for the government to combat the menace. The ANC political leader made a call when he visited the Center for the Exchange of Intellectual Opinions in Monrovia Thursday. Commenting on the economy, the Alternative National Congress leader also stressed the need for Liberian government to do all it can to improve the Liberian economy. According to him, Liberia is too rich for some of its citizens to be going to bed hungry, having no food, no medication, neither education. The Indian embassy near Monrovia, in partnership with Bonte Pharmaceutical, a subsidiary of the group of companies, Thursday donated 500 nose masks and 500 pairs of hand gloves to the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency. The donation came in direct response to an appeal made by the officer in charge of LDEA aimed at bolstering the agency operational capacity in its ongoing fight against illicit drug proliferation in Liberia. Presenting the items on behalf of the Indian government, Ambassador Sri Bahari Veman stated that the Indian embassy is proud to stand with the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency in its effort to rid Liberia of dangerous drugs. Ambassador Verma emphasized that support of India symbolizes broader commitment to strengthening Liberia's security and health sector, pledging continued collaboration in areas critical for the welfare of the people. Aggrieved students of the now closed PYJ Polytechnic University in Ganta, Nima County are demanding transfer of documents from the administration to enable them continue their education at other institutions. According to the students, the university has reportedly been sold to a private individual who intends to use the property for purposes unrelated to education. The students say the university has remained closed for 3 academic semesters following the death of its founder, Senator Prince Y. Johnson, in 2024. With no clear communication from the administration and no plans to have it reopened, the students feel abandoned and are calling for immediate action. Critics say the reported sale of the university and its prolonged closure reflect the fast declining legacy of the late Nima County political strongman, widely known as the godfather of Nima Prince Johnson. And the Women NGO Secretariat of Liberia has contributed life skill equipment, empowerment materials to women of District 17 Montserrado Radio County, ending violence against women and girls. Speaking at the one-day forum, the executive director of the NGO Secretariat said the group was established to support women in Liberia to contribute to peace by ending gender-based violence, promote women's rights, and advance gender equality in conflict settings.
Sam Andrews there with the news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. And in one of our top developments, the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia warns interest point logistic over alleged illegal disposed of waste material without authorization. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you voices of the news makers. Welcome back. Thanks for rejoining us. Let's now get our first development. The executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, Emmanuel Yakpaulo has issued warning to Interest Point Logistic following revelation that the company illegally disposing waste materials without authorization, which, according to the EPA, is in direct violation of international environmental law and national environmental protocol. The controversy enters on seven continents imported by Interest Point Logistic, which arrived at the Freeport of Monrovia on September 18, 2025. Speaking with team of reporters in Monrovia, EPA Executive Director Yakpaulo said in keeping with its statutory mandate, the EPA launched a full environmental assessment and laboratory analysis to determine whether the material was saved for disposal within Liberia.
The Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia present a compliment and refer to an earlier communication regarding the consignment of 17 times 44 containers of Pan Canal's waste consigned to SM Transport and Logistics, which arrived at the Freeport of Monrovia on September 18, 2025. Pursuant to the Environmental Protection and Management Law of Liberia, and in fulfillment of Liberia obligation under the Basel Convention, the EPA conducted a comprehensive environmental assessment and laboratory analysis of the Pan Canal waste. We are pleased to inform you that the results of the testing have confirmed that the material poses no environmental or public health risks and is therefore considered safe for disposal within Liberia. Accordingly, the EPA hereby authorizes and request the release of the container currently held within the facility of APM terminals to allow the consignment to be removed and disposed of in line with approved waste management procedure. Remember, we have already communicated with the company and said you're not allowed to do this. For you to do this, you need to choose and satisfy there's a procedure. That decision is telling the port they can store it somewhere now until this procedure is followed. Okay, we highly appreciate your continued collaboration. As of yesterday, a number of the containers escorted by EPA inspectors as well as our colleagues from the custom enforcement aspect of it and other relevant authorities as would normally be done. They escorted the truck from the port of Monrovia to this place where we are. This logistic company, they have already disposed some of them from here. They already disposed some from the port directly without the EPA involved. And so that is subject to investigation and administrative action. Because as we read in the letter, it's very clear to them the procedure. You are not satisfied to do this. These are the lists. Choose from. The reason why it's important, when the EPA satisfy a company to do this work, they go through tremendous training. They know exactly what to do. They are formed, they have to fill, they are protocol, they have to follow everything. So we can't get say anybody should do it. So that's why we say go and choose one. Then they will come up with a guideline, it will be approved. But as we got here now, fresh information is that they already have disposed of some, which is totally against the procedure we told them. But we're going to suggest that to further investigation, and we'll come up with finding and action to be taken as to what caused them to do that, and the punishment there of interim of it.
EPA Executive Director Emmanuel Yakpaulo there speaking. The political leader of the Alternative National Congress called on Liberians to take the lead in tackling issues regarding the importation and abuse of dangerous drugs in the country. The ANC leader said that the impact of drug in the Liberian society is alarming. There is an urgent need for the government to combat the issue. Comment also stressed the need for Liberian government to do what it can to improve the living condition of the ordinary citizens.
Our government has to take the lead. We can try to help in our own way. It requires leadership from the government of Liberia. To stop the drugs from coming in, only the government can do that. Only the government can make sure the LDA, the customs, the border people, only the government can go after those big hands that are benefiting from this. You or I, as citizens, can't do that. They have to take the lead to stop the drugs from coming to Liberia. They also have to take the lead on rehabilitating. Yes, again, we can all try to help in our own way, but they got to take the lead. And most importantly, they got to take the lead in getting rid of the hopelessness by creating jobs. by growing economy. Are too few people in our country who are benefiting from the resources of Liberia. Maybe a few thousand people. And literally, it's a few thousand people that benefit from Liberia the way it is today. And those people do not want us to change our country so that the majority of Liberians can benefit from resources of this country. The average Liberian is a poor person. That is sad. When our country has iron ore, has gold, has diamond, apparently we got bauxite, apparently we got lithium now, and yet most of you here are struggling to get a meal a day. We can choose to break the law, follow the law. That's the only thing that should stop a Liberian from benefiting from the resources of this country. Is about the plight of our people. The fact that we have too many Liberians who go to bed hungry, too many Liberians who can't afford healthcare, too many Liberians who can't afford education, too many Liberians, particularly young Liberians, who cannot find a job. And this is why we work ceaselessly to offer solutions, to offer recommendations on how we can grow that bowl of rice.
Tenants of the intestate of the late Hilary Todman have accused the Chief Executive Officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Roosevelt Allen Brown, of ongoing harassment, despite the Supreme Court ruling that stripped him of any legal right to the property. Speaking separately with reporters on Thursday following an arrest warrant issued by the Monrovia City Court, the tenants identified as Madam Marion Double and Kelvin described Reverend Brown's continuing attempt to evade them as criminal trappers. According to the tenants, Brown has consistently harassed them of the property located on Cinco Six Street even after the Supreme Court decision on February 18, 2024.
So I came that morning asking the sheriff there to serve me copy. They say I should go to my lawyer. I said, no, you serve me, I own the property. Before you do any invasion, you serve me copy. The sheriff and the police, they said, no way, they start doing all kind of things. All of a sudden, to get me all of the property, they went to the police and put burglary case on me on the same property. They took me and carried me to the police station for me to come back to get free from the police station and come. They were finished busting my oldest cousin, Rebecca, were on the compound here too, and Myron. They were finished busting the door, busting the window, they took all the things and put it in the ring. That was Imara Lamar, Serena C4, one robber to be identified, one Tama, and so they were lying. So I asked the officer, I said, but what you people do, I know that I will be a son, cousin, I can say sister, okay, which is Elizabeth with a Topman. All right. I represent fact. Yeah, read on arrest. On what basis? Because he illegally trespassed and causing serious chaos and damage on the property here. So at the point, man, getting me off, it means that they will get access towards the property. So the first thing they normally do to get me all of the property first, they will get me all of the property first before they can go on with the illegal thing.
Oh, yesterday I was at work, but then we've been on the case for some time now. And then on February 18th, the Supreme Court ruled and gave us possessory right. After February 18th, this name is Adam Brown filed in for reargument. When went for the reargument, he couldn't defend the reargument, so the judge again ruled on May 28th and poured in possession of the property. On August 19, we received our possessory right from the civil law court under John Smith. And then on August 27, Mr. Adam Brown was evicted from on the property. We evicted him. So on last week, a huge number of sheriff and police officers said that the injunction we filed for, they gave him possession of the Mr. Brown again with the same injunction paper that he claimed he had possession of. with over 30 sheriff, police, paper, PSU, two filled up the places and they damaged our things, was our horses, was our homes. Take all the way, you go down there, you will see the buildings that took all the window bar, damaged everything, our money, our land. Heavy rain yesterday that was falling, our pool of rain, the sheriff, our lawyer came on the scene, tried to intercept them, but they couldn't listen. They said they were going to put forward. So that's what happened.
And up to this next development, Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sano has responded to mounting public criticism over why suspended Deputy Minister Brian McGill has not been arrested, why the Ministry of Agriculture contractor Sando Crowman is currently in detention over statutory rape charges. According to Deputy Minister Sano, he clarified that the two cases are fundamentally different in terms of evidence and investigative procedures. He explained that in the case of Kroman, police acted immediately because the suspect were called in the room with the alleged victim, and physical evidence was available at the time of the arrest, noting that investigation involving McGill requires more time to gather sufficient evidence to establish the cause.
We have to clarify before going forward that the Liberian National Police has followed an individual who is accused of committing the crime of rape. And as usual, we see people jumping to conclusions that, oh, what become of the other men who were accused of rape? You haven't arrested him yet. Is it because he was deputy minister when he committed a crime and everything? So we have reached out to the LLP. We have to say this thing before people try to misinterpret the position and action of the government. We go by the public sentiment. So they said to us that the public should understand that the facts and circumstances in all the cases cannot be the same. In some cases, a suspect can be immediately placed at the scene of the crime, meaning the evidence is available right away. In other cases, a suspect cannot be immediately linked to the crime scene, and therefore it will require further investigation, especially when the suspect raises a defense or alibi as a defense. In the two cases that we're currently witnessing, one suspect was arrested in a room with the victim, while in the other case, it is based solely on an allegation made after the commission of the alleged act. In our case, the suspect is claiming that he was not present on the date as stated by the victim. The key point we want to make is that in the two cases here, the facts and circumstances are not the same. Police reiterate that there is no special treatment given to anyone. I mean, they treat everybody equally. In one case, the evidence was immediately available because the suspect was caught in the room with the victim. So no question about that. In the other case, it's necessary to conduct further investigation to establish what the law people call probable cause. So there's no preferential treatment. The police will have no interest in who the accused in the two cases are. The only interest is to investigate and when probable cause is established, to carry to court.
Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sano there providing reason why suspended Deputy Minister Brian McGill has not been arrested following allegation of rape. Well, if you are just joining us, this is a reminder that you are listening to the Friday, October 3, 2025 edition of King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments. Welcome back. Up to this development, aggrieved students of the now closed PYJ Polytechnic University in Ganta Nema County are demanding transfer document from the administration to enable them to continue their education at other institutions. According to the students, the university has reportedly been sold to a private individual who intends to use the property for purposes unrelated to education. The students say that the university has remained closed for 3 academic semesters following the death of former Nimba County Senator Prince Johnson in 2024.
And we have been calling on the madam to meet us as a students to discuss on roundtable. She has refused to enter the Nimakande, but to just tell us that, oh yes, I want to come on the campus. You have visa that live on the sun. So to tell us that, oh, I want to come on the campus with people, with the buyers, just because she wanted to sell the property. Right? This one time we have the protest, the place was very, very dirty up. But now because she has found buyers to buy the property, now she bringing people. So we the students, we're not discussing concerning her property being sold to different people. That's all right. That's our inheritance from her husband. So she can sell it to different group of people. But our concern is our document. Our next concern is what becomes of the funds that are being invested here, that we are not getting anything from them. And the school still owes some of our police. Even me, the school still owing me because I'm not yet getting my bracelet. Since I did my test in December. Last year, 2024 December, I'm not yet getting my bracelet. So it means that institution still owing some of our police. So how will you sell us like a picking bear to people? And we not own the institution. We're doing tests, they always put us outside. So this is a frustrating issue. So this is a caveat to the Nimakande Legislative Caucus, the two senators, the VP, and every well-meaning citizen of Nimakande that the institution have been allegedly sold for $8 million to Mr. Johnson. It's frustrating to know that the government separate deed that was sent to the school. The Mr. Johnson cannot give account of it because she's signatory to the account of the institution. The government invested the first payment I was done was $50,000 as a separate deed to the school. And up to now, the school is not running. She has not yet given account of how the money was being used. The government said going to give $30,000 United States dollars to the school. And she still not giving account of that $30,000. The government went about sending $6,721,900 LD to the institution as a separate deed. Now, and then she's still under the shadow telling us that there is no fund out to run the institution. Now we can publicly and tell the public that there is no fund out to run the institution. Then we'll question her. And the government should also question Mr. John.
An aggrieved student of the PYJ Polytechnic University, they're speaking. Ahead of our news presentation is our foreign development. But this development sets the pace. Women's NGO Secretariat of Liberia has distributed life skill empowerment materials to women of District 17, Mustard Radio County, ending violence against women and girls. Speaking at one day forum on Thursday, the executive director of the Women's NGO Secretariat of Liberia said the group was established to support women in Liberia to contribute to peace by ending gender-based violence, promote women's rights, and advance gender equality and conflict settling. According to her, they're supporting legal actors working to protect the safety, security, and fundamental rights of Liberian women and girls.
Women and girls in Liberia, 5 project to support the UN Trust Fund. So UN Trust Fund is their local with this indicator, and this is one who saw. And with Wongoso receiving the grant from UN Trust Fund, this is Wongoso with the umbrella, and I ensure that it's working with you people. So we are very glad today to come to you, to hear from you, to present this supportive material that will empower you for you to be able to do good things at your community as single mothers, as what it mean, practitioners, as students of the school, and all our citizens. It is important because we talk about empowering women. When we empower women, women are able to be economically independent. And when you talk about independent, you talk about financial power now, eh? And that knowledge make you to get small, small kappa. Hmm? And I hear that, but eh, Zangai, Kwazobo, Baba, what you call him market issue. Kwa nonge de kwa mu kapa pe kwa misana ya great nere. So today this program it is being here as the purpose to distribute items. That's the purpose we are here for, to distribute items. Items in baking, items in soap production, and these are gears that we'll also be using and to also produce chlorides. And these are chlorides material, and this is washing soap material, what we call gel. So you'll be learning about things here that you don't have to go in the supermarket again. For supermarket can bring it to you in the local community because you are the one that will be able to bring supermarket and the skills you'll be using and helping your people, helping your children, then worrying them from all your husband.
And now, on our way from home, a day after the joyous celebration of a religious festival, mass funerals were held in a Summon Ethiopian town of Ariti for the 36 people who were killed when scaffolding inside an Orthodox Christian church collapsed. Hundreds of mourners walked with coffins draped in colorful clothes into the compound of a nearby church while the clerics conducted burial rituals following the disaster at the Samarian church. Among them was 22-year-old Fakri Tabuhud, who told the BBC that he had lost his mother in the tragedy. Though the church is still under construction, people had gathered in the building on Wednesday during the annual Orthodox Christian celebration of Samarian. At Wednesday's Jibrahud Tafir told the BBC that a sizable number of worshippers decided to climb onto the makeshift scaffolding to view a newly painted mural on the church ceiling when the disaster struck. Other eyewitnesses said the chaos ensued as people scattered in panic to try to save the lives of people trapped beneath that rubble. This note, this is how we got home on today's edition of the news program. But before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories we closed it for. International Monetary Fund approves US 26.5 million extended credit for Liberia. Monrovia Magisterial Court Josh Ben Bako issued writ of arrest for former presidential candidate and chief executive officer of the Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Allen Roosevelt Brown, and his associates in connection to property of interest of the late Hillary Tubman. The executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia wants interest point logistic over alleged illegal disposal of waste materials without authorization. And also away from home, a day after the joyous celebration of a religious festival. Mass funeral were held in the Sultan of Ethiopia. Rated for the 36 people who died when comforting inside an Orthodox Christian church collapse. This note, would like to say many thanks to our reporters, editors, for making today's news presentation a success. Sam Andrews was here with the news bulletin, and Jenny Pesima sat at control and ably coordinated the sound. Stephen Compton, thanks for listening and watching.